Hello, guys. So, yeah, uh, this video is not about fixing, but I explained so many things about laptop motherboards, how laptop motherboards are working, how we are fixing various kind of laptops or motherboard without schematics. And this video is very important because by end of this video, you know your limits. That's number one. You know what you are supposed to fix, what you are not supposed to fix, the kind of jobs that can take your time, and the kind of jobs you have to avoid. Not only that, you know how to check dirty chipsets. That's the main aim of this video, just to learn how we can diagnose and condemn a laptop motherboard as no fix. I'm sure if you move around any electronic repair workshop, you see some scrapers of motherboards. There is a reason why those motherboards they are no longer functioning, or they are being treated as donor boards, boards for space, like these ones. These are boards for space. And on old laptop motherboards, especially on the processor were removable, but on these new models, we have BGA processor. So we'll explain about the CPU, the GPU, and the PCH. CPU, the central processing unit, GPU, graphics processing unit, and PCH, that's a platform controller hub. So all those chipsets, they work together with the processor. So what do we have here? We have this motherboard, power supplies. We have this processor, all-in-one processor with PCH and processor in one, and the GPU is also inside. We have another motherboard here. I don't know even, this looks like an HP motherboard. We have the processor, and inside this processor, we do have the PCH and the graphics. Same here. We have this processor. Inside there's GPU and PCH. Let's take this one. This looks like a Lenovo G50, G40 series. We have the processor under this heatsink. And if you check on the other side, there's no other chipset. That means inside this processor, you have PCH and the GPU. Fine. So my story is like this. Many of our jobs which came here are coming from other computer shops, and they are condemning motherboards as not repairable. And in most cases, they are saying it's not fixable, dead processor. It's not fixable, dead processor. So you have to know how to check a processor. You have to know why are you saying this processor is dead. Because 60 to 70% of the jobs, I'm fixing them, and it's not even the processor. So we have to know how a processor is dying. So before we start checking some things, let's put this aside. We need to do just a little bit of theory. Just a little bit of theory. I'll explain about the vehicle section. I'll explain about the processor power supply. So that's the CPU, central process unit. So the processor power supply is like this. We have from the VCC, we have some ceramic capacitors on every power supply. on every power supply which is connected to ground. The others, this is ground, this is plus 19, the other side of the capacitor. These are ceramic capacitors on every power supplies. Can be 2, can be 3, that's not important. So from here, we have MOSFETs. We have MOSFETs here. We have another MOSFET here. We have another MOSFET here. We have another MOSFET here. Like 4 MOSFETs. And here, we have the driver. That's the driver. Or the, we can call it the driver or the controller of the power supply. And these MOSFETs, the one that is connected to the 19 volts, we call it the higher side MOSFET. That's the higher side MOSFET. And the lower side MOSFET, which is going to ground, which is connected to ground. So the gates of all these MOSFETs, they are connected to this chip. They are connected to this chip. Hope we are together here. So here, we have coils here. We have coils here. We have coil. We have another coil. We have like 2 coils. You can find more coils depending on the type of motherboard. We have 2 coils. And switching these MOSFETs up, down, up, down, up, down will create voltage here. Here, maybe for the CPU, we have 0.9, can be 1 volt, can be 1.2, depending with the type of laptop. We have some gaming laptops, we have the normal laptops. The laptops, they are so different. So, switching this MOSFET, this will happen, I think, around the 40 to 50k thousands per second. The speed of switching is very high. And it will create voltage here on the output. And what do we have on the output after the coil? We might have some capacitors, electrolyte capacitors after the coils, and they are outputting straight to the CPU. This is the vehicle power supply for the processor. So you have to understand that the processor is working with around 0.9 volts, around 1 volt. And in order to get this 1 volt, there must be a power supply which is stepping down 19 volts to this kind of voltage to suit the requirements of the processor, because processor is working with very low resistance, and this kind of resistance can confuse you. I found many people get lost there. You are checking with the multimeter on continuity mode, you come to this power supply. If you check these coils, they are beeping to ground. You might find 10 ohms, 15 ohms, 20 ohms here, but that doesn't mean we have a short to ground, okay? In most cases, that's the resistance of the processor, because the processor is working with a very low resistance, okay? Low resistance meaning low voltage. So that's the sequence of the processor. And inside this processor, we also have PCH, and this can have different power supply. The PCH, which is supplying power here, we have a BIOS. It mostly is for the PCH, which is inside the processor, and is supplying some 1.8 volts, 3.3 volts. I found the 1.8 and 3.3 volts. Inside this same processor, you also have the GPU, which is working maybe with 0.8 volts for display. So the processor, which is like a BGA processor soldered on the motherboard, is dying easily. I found fault motherboards. The motherboard is coming on but not display. If I see something like that, coming on, not display, what I'm doing, I check all the conditions for the laptop to display. I will change the RAM. If it's not working, I will check the RAM power supply to have like 1.3 or 1.5 volts. If the RAM power supply is good, I change 2-3 RAM, still we have no display. I check with the external screen to see if it's displaying something. If it's displaying from the external screen, I know for sure the problem, maybe we have a fault screen or a faulty screen ribbon cable. But if it's not displaying, I'll go further to check the GPU power supply. And if it's not working, I'll go further to reprogram the BIOS chip. Because if the BIOS is faulty, it's very possible for the laptop to come on but it's not posting anything on the screen. So after doing all those factors which lead to no display and it's not working, probably you can't do anything. You'll be having a dead GPU inside the processor. So this processor is dying because the GPU can be faulty, the laptop coming on no display, or the PCH is faulty. So let's go on those motherboards. Let me take these motherboards. Okay. Fine. So we have this motherboard. Let's concentrate on the processor only. We don't want to concentrate on anything. So what do we have here? The multimeter is on diode mode. We want to check if this processor is good or not. How do we do it? We have so many coils. Obviously, this coil is next to the battery connector. That cannot be the processor power supply. We have another coil here, which is beeping to ground, like a 0. Here, this is not beeping. That's not the coil. This is the RAM power supply, which is beeping to ground. We have another coil here, like beeping to ground. Let's check. Let's go to ohms. What do we have here? We have 0 ohms. Here, we have 0 ohms. So these coils which are close to the processor, I believe one is for the processor and one is for the GPU, and we have 0 ohms, completely 0. That means something is wrong with the processor. Let's skip that. So the first step, you check the coils. If you have 0 resistance, even at 1 volt, you must have around 10 going upwards. If it's 0 resistance like this, That means we have a problem there. And here I skip something. On old laptops here, on these MOSFETs, on old laptops we have these MOSFETs, like 4 MOSFETs and the driver. On the new models we have like chips, and the processor and the driver. These MOSFETs, they are inside the driver. You don't have like external MOSFETs. Fine. So what we can check here, we can check, we do have a BIOS chip here. You see this BIOS chip on pin number 8. Diode mode, pin number 8 is beeping to ground. Pin number 8 beeping to ground. And this kind of BIOS chip is not for the controller. So we need to see what is shorted here. Let's go to 1 volt. Let's go to 1 volt. I want to check on those coils with exactly 1 volt. 1 volt. You can see. Let's check to this coil. It's taking 1.9 with 1 volt. Here is taking the max current. Okay. I can't feel. Let's raise this current a little bit, because these boards are faulty. We just want to clear the mystery about fault processor. We just want to clear the issue about fault processor. So let's go on a microscope and try to see what's going on here. Let's check here. We have a BIOS chip. We have a BIOS chip. Let's check what's going on with the BIOS. We have pin number 4 is beeping. Pin number 8 is beeping. That's not good. Let's put some alcohol. Let's put some alcohol on this processor. We want to see if we still have a good processor or not. Let's see. Check what the liquid is doing. I want you to pay attention to the liquid on top of the processor. Let's apply 3.3 and go on the BIOS chip, pin number 8. You see, the liquid is disappearing quickly. So this process has gone. This process has gone. You see, the liquid is drying quickly because pin number 8 of the BIOS must not be grounded, because it's supplying 3.3 volts for the PCH, and the PCH is inside this processor. So That's the story here. That's the story. So I want to go further. We need to go further. We want to go further and see if the processor is shorted for sure or not. So I want to take down this processor. When I take down the processor, we have time, we can play. Don't worry, we have too much time, we can play. Let's take down this processor just to confirm if we still have shorted there. I need something to hold the motherboard so that it won't move. Okay, I can do this. How hard can be to take out the processor of the hot air? We are doing this not to try to fix this board, but just to prove a point. That the processor you see this processor. So the processor is out. This motherboard, we took out the processor. Let's check again. Let's check again. Pin number 4 is ground, and pin number 8 is no longer beeping to ground. Why? Because we took out the processor with the shorted PCH. And all these cores, they are not beeping, like zero resistance. You see, this core is not beeping anymore. This core is not beeping anymore because we took out the processor. Even with a good processor, the cores they are beeping because of low resistance, but it's not supposed to be like 0. Maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 ohms, depending with the type of the motherboard. So you understand? So that is the point where you have to condemn a motherboard as not fixed, because it's not worth. I don't know, maybe it's about country, but in my country, Zimbabwe, it's not worth. How much is a BGA machine, soldering machine, for this chipset? How much does it cost? It costs a lot. Shipping, buying price. Even if I own one, this can be time consuming. You need too much time. At the end, how much are you going to buy this chipset? Like from eBay or AliExpress? You know, it's just the end of the story. So I'm condemning such kind of motherboards as no fix because I can't do anything. And even if I try to order, the amount that I get is very little. I can't do it from this end. Maybe somewhere around the world. So if you check, the last pin of the BIOS chip is beeping to ground. Especially on this new model of motherboards, where everything is in one, like the PCH and GPU is in one. If you check the last pin is beeping to ground, come with 3.3 on the last pin. In most cases, the processor is getting what? It's taking that current. You might be lucky, like on the side that the laptop is coming on but no display. And on some laptop, like gaming laptops, you might find like maybe the MOSFETs, you know, the DR MOSFETs for the vehicle section. Yeah, you might be lucky, like for those MOSFETs to be shorted, you replace the MOSFET, you still have a working motherboard, especially those responsible for display on the VRAM. Yeah, on the VRAM section. You might be lucky, you took out the MOSFET, you replace it, and the laptop can come back to life. But the chances, they are very limited. Because when these MOSFETs, you see, when this MOSFET is shorted, this one, all the 19 volts will come here, straight to the processor. And this processor is working with a 1 volt. Obvious, it can't handle like 19 volts. So the probability of having a dead processor is very high. We'll do that experiment later. I'll take one board which is working. I'll try to come with 19 volts on the processor power supply. So we have so many motherboards here. Huh? What about this one? What about this one? Same story. We have these coils for the processor section. Let's check them. Ohms. What do we have here? We have 4 ohms here. We have 0. On this coil, we have 0. On the other one, we have around 4 ohms. So why do we have 0 on this coil? Huh? What do you think is not right there? Let's check. Here we have a BIOS chip on pin number 8. Okay, it's on ohms. On pin number 8, pin number 8 is beeping, pin number 4 is beeping. Pin number 8 is beeping to ground. Same story. That the PCH which is shorted. Trust me. Let's come with alcohol. Let's do just the last one, just to see what I'm trying to say. That the processor. Let's come with 3.3 on the BIOS chip, which is here next to the processor. We do have a Winboard BIOS chip there. So coming with 3.3, check the processor. Maybe you can't see. Check the processor. It's drying quickly. Okay. And it's taking max current. So, you understand? So even this processor is gone. Even this processor is gone. Even this processor is gone. Let's take it down. So if the processor is gone, what do you think you can do? Nothing. Nothing that you can do. And this processor is some kind of stuck with some glue on every corner from the factory. I think they do that for the purpose of alignment. Come on. And that's the processor. That is the processor. This is the second board to take out this processor. So now, our multimeter is still on diode mode. We need to check on that last pin of the BIOS chip. And the short is gone. The short is gone. Why? Because this guy is shorted. And what about on those coils? On those coils, this one is not beeping. This one is not beeping anymore. But even with a good processor, like what I said, those coils, they are beeping to ground, but the resistance should not be like 0, 0. So, in order to condemn a processor, you check on the BIOS chip on these new models. This apply on these new models. Because this BIOS chip on these new models, in most cases, is not for the microcontroller or for the EC chip. It's for the PCH inside the processor. You get it? So you check on the last pin, you see a short to ground, come with some power, even 3 volts, even 1 volt. You see what is taking current. In most cases, it is the BGA processor soldered on the motherboard. So that was the idea about this video, to clear out how to condemn a motherboard and how to check a faulty processor. There are so many ways that you can check the faulty processor. You can check from the power supply, you check the coils, the resistance of the coils to ground. If you see coils with 0 resistance totally, there must be an issue, because even a 1 volt power rail should not have 0 resistance. Okay? So, yeah, I think I explained these things. You now know how to condemn a motherboard. Don't just condemn without taking the right procedure to check the processor. What you can check on this power supply? If you come with with 1 volt, the processor is getting hot. Check this MOSFET first before you condemn. Maybe one of these MOSFET is faulty and is sending too much power to the processor. You might be lucky if you replace the MOSFET for the board to come on back to life. But in most cases, if the 19 volts bypass the faulty MOSFET and go into the CPU, you can't do anything. That will be the end of the story. So that's the thing. So I'll stop this video now. like, subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell for future updates. And see you on the next one. Bye.